Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And I'm sounding a little bit croaky today because I've had a nasty cough for the last week. So I'm going to try to get through today's live, and you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little hoarse and I have to sort of mute my mic to quickly cough. But I am going to do my best because I am all about the fabulous Take to the Sky suite from the new Stampin' Up! 2024-2025 annual catalog. Now, this suite is perfect for masculine cards with Father's Day coming up in just a few weeks. Lots of masculine cards are on my mind, preparing for the men in my life and wanting to honor them. And so I thought I would share some ideas for you for this fabulous suite. Now, if you are joining me live, please let me know that you are here. Give me a hello in the comments. Just let me know both on Facebook and YouTube. Last week I had some audio issues, so it would be really good to know if you are seeing me live and you are hearing me. So just give me a hello and let me know that you are here. Even if you're watching the replay, it's always nice for me to know who's watching and where you're watching from. So I see Jeannie is joining me. Welcome, Jeannie K. Thanks for joining me today. Hi, Nicole from Iowa. Welcome. Here and show you the products, where to find it in the catalog, and then I show you the products up close and, well, kind of in real life, as in real life as it gets on a live video. Hi, Adelheid. Hello from Germany. Talk the gates. Okay, here we go. Take to the Sky. Fabulous masculine suite. If you have aviation aficionados in your life, or maybe someone who has served in the Air Force, this is a fantastic suite, but there's lots of possible uses for projects beyond the obvious. So I'm actually going to show you a scrapbook layout that I did that has nothing to do with aviation, but it works really, really well. So this is where you can find it, page 36 and 37 in the annual catalog. But let's get this out of the way and I'll show you the products a little bit larger and in real life. Okay, hi Cindy from Ohio, welcome. All right, so we have first of all the bundle, which in most suites, the bundles are sort of the centerpiece of our suites. So we have the Adventurous Sky bundle. So a great stamp set with some lovely sort of hand-drawn, pencil-drawn images, some clouds for our planes to fly in. I love this texture image, these rivets. I love any kind of texture stamp. So this one was the first thing that caught my eye in this set. And then we have some great punny sentiments. You're the best, plain and simple, flying by to say hi, you always lift me up. So really great sentiments. Of course, a happy Father's Day and a happy birthday. So lots of possibilities for this Adventurous Sky stamp set. And then we also have our coordinating dies. So we have open dies that cut out stamped images, but then we have this awesome build a plane set of dies. So we've got the body of the plane, the wings and sort of the landing gear, and then a separate die to cut the propellers. This is actually intended to be like a banner that might fly behind a plane. So this is how you would attach the banner to the plane if you wanted to maybe include the happy birthday as a banner flying behind the plane. Okay, so that is the bundle. Let's get that out of the way. Excuse me. I'll talk about the embellishments in a minute, but the DSP is really fabulous in this suite. So let me show you all of the patterns that you get. I think this is my favorite in the suite. I love this sort of old world map look. Fantastic for scrapbooking, for travel themes, layouts, all kinds of possibilities with that one. Love this one too with the various biplanes. And of course, all airplanes need clouds to fly in. So there is our cloud pattern. This is like a schematic of various vintage aircraft, similar, but in sort of the mossy meadow. And then this one, I love when Stampin' Up! Does this. They give us some ready printed card fronts. These are all 3x4. And then we have these awesome tags, which you're going to see later on my scrapbook layout as well. So easy to cut up and use on projects really quickly and easily. And then on the back side, again, another map sort of pattern. There is, again, love this sort of rivets. Looks like, you know, an old vintage plane that's kind of been repaired and hammered together. Love this plaid. Would love to use this pattern for fall cards. We have a smoky slate grid. This is like a topographical map. which I love, and then just a navy grid pattern. So many versatile patterns in this pack that, again, just don't have to be about aviation if that is not your thing. And then, of course, we have some fabulous trinkets. So these are reversible. I'll hold them up nice and close. So these ones look like sort of nuts or rivets, but then the reverse side has this cool little starburst pattern. So you can use them either way. They do adhere quite well with the glue dots to projects. And again, you're going to see me use them in just a minute on a project. So I'm going to keep these handy. All right, so let's see who else has joined us here. We've got Louise. Oh, your dad was a paratrooper. So this is a great suite for you, Jeannie K. That's awesome. Hi, Julie from Waterloo, Iowa. We're actually in Waterloo region here in Southern Ontario. So kind of neat that we are from the same place, but not. And welcome to Kathy. All right, so let's get to it here. I'm not seeing anybody commenting from Facebook. So if you are watching me on Facebook, can you just give me a hello and let me know that I am live over there? Seeing lots of comments from YouTube, but I'm not seeing anything from Facebook. Oh, there's Judy. Okay, Judy, thanks for letting me know you are watching via Facebook and Wawa. And hi, Sue, welcome. All right, so the first project we're going to make today is this one. So it kind of looks like this plane is sort of flying out of the background there. Really simple, little bit of coloring with Stampin' blends. Didn't do a ton of blending on this one, but I'll show you what I did. So let's start with a piece of that fabulous DSP. So we are 4 by 5 1/4 inches. Okay, so I see more of us joining us from Facebook. Thank you. Hi, Janice. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Julie. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so we got 4 by 5 1/4 is our measurement. And then textured metallic specialty paper. So this is new in the annual catalog. You get 3 12 by 12 sheets in the pack that come in copper, gold, and silver. So I'm using the copper because it works so well with our copper clay that is in this suite. So I'm going to start, this piece is cut to 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. So we're going to lay this across the middle of our background panel here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue on here just so I can adjust. Anytime you are adding layers, it's always a good thing to use your grid paper to help you get your pieces on straight. So I'm going to eyeball where I think the middle of this is. I think it's right about here. May not be exact, but pretty close. And then these little bits were just scrap bits that are actually just 1/4 inch by 5 1/4. So again, you can use just the littlest bit of metallic to really still get a cool effect. So we're going to add just that little bit there. And we're going to, whoops, don't you move on me. And we're going to add a second strip below it. So again, 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm just kind of eyeballing this one because I just want to get my spacing between them close to equal. All right, now that is going to get layered on a Misty Moonlight mat that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we're going to go ahead, add a little bit of glue here, and pop that onto our mat, just like that. And then that is going to get adhered to a copper clay card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. As always, all of the measurements for all 3 projects I'm going to demonstrate today are posted in the video description. So all you have to do is scroll down and you will find them. Sometimes you have to click see more before you can actually scroll, but trust me, they're there. If all worked as I posted them last night, so they should be there. If you have any problems finding them, please reach out and I will try to help direct you to them. But they are there for easy one-stop shopping or one-stop crafting, as they say. All right, so now we are going to take this label. So I've die cut this using the Nested Essentials dies from that fun sort of rivet pattern in the DSP. And this is going to get popped up centered on the front of our card. All right, Peggy, you made it to a live. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I made it. I wasn't sure this weekend whether or not I was going to be able to go live this week because, as I say, I've had this nasty cold and cough um, really since last Wednesday. I was starting it, I think, last week. Maybe you might have heard my voice was a little bit croaky, and that was the start of it. Little did I know. And yeah, it has not been a great week for health in this household. All right, now here is my plane. So this is the largest plane image from the stamp set. So I just need to take a quick sip of water here. There we go. And I've already stamped and colored it just in the interest of time. So this was stamped in Memento Black ink. And then I colored using my copper clay. I colored the body of the aircraft using light copper clay. And then I added really very subtle shading using the dark, just kind of following the hash marks in the image. And then the wings and the nose, you'll notice the nose on this one is lighter than the one on this one. I didn't really like the dark nose on this, so I went with the lighter shade here. So these are light Misty Moonlight. Okay. The wheels are in the light black, as they call it. So we're going to go ahead and pop this up. So yes, I am double popping, and I know for some of us that is a no-no. It is okay if you glue this flat. If you had to choose between which to pop, I would glue this flat and still pop the plane. Okay, if you're worried about thickness for postage. But if you're okay with double popping, I like the double pop. I like lots of dimension on my projects. But if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that. All right, so there is our plane. Now our sentiment, we're going to stamp on this little label. So this is from the, what is it called? Unbounded Love dies. And I just kind of like this little cutout. I don't know, it looked a little bit, I don't know, sort of military, sort of, I don't know, masculine. I don't know. Can shapes look masculine? I don't know. I just like that shape for this project. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have to move this closer to me. I'm sorry. I'm going to stamp it in Memento Black. I am going to do a test run because this stamp is actually cut a little bit. So you see how the image is a little bit high on the stamp. So I'd like to do a little bit of a test to make sure that when I stamp, so if I put that there, is that going to stamp middle? Yes, it is. All right. Whoopsie. Oh, that was pretty good. It's always a crapshoot with when you're stamping live, whether or not it's going to work. So this I am going to glue flat. I'm just going to add a little bit of seal to the back of my label here and just tuck that in. So the plane is kind of overlapping my label just a little bit. So there we go. And then the last touch is to add some of these fun trinkets. So I need to find my glue dots, which are here. So I'm just going to press the back of my trinket onto a glue dot. And then that is going on that larger strip of the metallic specialty paper. And we'll do another one on this side. And this is always where you have to kind of eyeball it to try and get them equidistant from the edge. I usually kind of look at it, and if I don't like it, I peel it back up, but that looks pretty good. There we go. So that is our finished card. I'll just quick show you what I did on the inside of my sample here. So I stamped another one of the sort of punny sentiments, you're the best, plain and simple, and then a smaller version of the same plane, but I reversed the colors. So I did darker wings and a lighter nose than I did on the front of my sample here. So that's just an idea for decorating the inside. And we are done. Number one. Let me take another sip of water before my voice completely gives out. Oh, hot and sunny in Florida. It's not quite hot here. It was hot last week, but we are back into a bit of a cooler spell, which I'm not minding because my classroom is not air conditioned at school. Excuse me. Here is card number 2. So I wanted to show you this technique for coloring. So I love that these images in the stamp set look a little bit vintage, look a little bit sort of older or sort of pencil hand sketched. So I wanted to show you a tip for coloring in sort of a similar way that makes it look kind of faded and a little bit vintage. This is a really sort of almost cheater way, it's almost cheating way of coloring. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And we're going to see if my trick, my upside down stamping trick, excuse me, works for me with a red rubber stamp. I usually use it just with photopolymer, But the trick with this is I had to do the die cut ahead of time. And when you're using this particular stamping tech or coloring technique, it helps to have fresh ink. Excuse me just one sec. I apologize for the coughing. Okay, I muted my mic that time, so I'm hoping that I'm good now. Sorry, that was a nasty cough. All right. So, oh, Marcia, you're a pilot. Well, this set was made for you. That's fantastic. So I have my stamp. We're going to see how this works. I'm going to ink my image with some copper clay ink. And then I'm very, very carefully, this is harder to do. You've seen me do this before with photopolymer. It is a little bit trickier with red rubber. So we're going to see how that goes. Oh, it's not too bad. Look at that. That worked. Woohoo! Okay. Phew. I was nervous about that. I've actually been nervous about doing that on live camera all day. All right. So here we go. I'm going to show you this coloring trick. So you want to stamp, and you want to do this fairly quickly after stamping your image. Okay. So I'm going to take a blender pen. These are sold in 3 packs in the catalog. Here in Canada, you get 3 for $20. Okay. And they last forever. Like, I can't tell you the last time I bought a pack of blender pens. They do last a really, really long time. They have a clear blending liquid inside that allows you to pick up color from either whether it's just re-inker if you want to do a watercolor effect, or you can actually pull color from your stamped image. So I'm just going to take the end of the tip of my pen, and I'm just going to kind of run it over the stamped lines, and I'm going to pick up some of that ink. Now, you don't want to do this a ton because it will blur your stamped image, but I kind of want it to do that for this particular look. So let me just hold that up so you can see. Do you see how it's just adding just a subtle little bit of color? And it's, like I said, it's almost cheating because it's really quite easy to do. Like, you don't have to have any real special skill. So I'm just gonna kind of run over. You can do this really, really quickly. Run over the stamped image with the tip of my pen, and it's going to pull that color in. So I'll go ahead and do the whole thing, and then I'll hold it up so you can see it. It's hard to see from the distance on the camera, but here we go. So you just see how it kind of just fills in that color. It's kind of a neat technique. Wow, so you have tons of aviation experience in your family. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Cheryl. Okay, so there's my colored image, really, really quick and easy. Okay, so if you're kind of lazy and you don't feel like doing a whole big coloring thing, that's a really quick and easy way to do it. All right, I just dropped some. What did I drop? I think I dropped a cloud. Yes, I did. Let me grab it. It's on the floor. There we go. Okay, so let's put this one together. We are going to start by we've already started, but we're going to add a little bit of shading to our background. So this background piece measures 4 by 5¼ inches. It's Misty Moonlight cardstock. And I'm going to take my Night of Navy ink and my blending brush and just run it over my embossed image, and that's just going to bring out sort of that swirl. This is embossed using the new So Swirly embossing folder. Love this folder for so many projects. Works really well for sort of these aviation themed projects, but also works really well for water. Lots of possibilities with this one. So I'm just kind of running my blender brush around the edges. Got a little aggressive there, but that's okay. Just to bring out some of those swirls. Isn't that great? Love that look. All right. All right. So we are going to layer a piece. This is 3 by 4 inches of this sort of copper clay plaid across the middle. So I'm just going to add a little bit of seal to the back of my piece here. And again, I'm going to use my grid paper to help me get this nice and straight. Sorry about the sniffles. I'm trying really hard. Excuse me. All right. Now, here's a little specialty paper saving trick for you. So you're going to see on my sample that I did a layer of that metallic copper in behind my airplane just to help it sort of pop off the page. And I also have a matte in the copper behind my DSP panel. So why waste all of that beautiful copper DSP by covering it with another piece, right? So I cut my shadow piece out of that, and then I'm going to layer my DSP on, and no one will ever know except you and anybody else who happens to watch my live. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive to the back of our DSP piece. Again, this measures 3x4 as well. So lots of 3x4 measurements today. And then that is going to get layered onto the front. Now I have to decide. I think I like this really part down at the bottom. Yeah. All right. So again, we're going to add a little bit more adhesive. And we'll pop that on, hopefully centered and hopefully relatively straight. And then that is going to get glued onto another copper clay card base, but this time it's a portrait orientation. So this is a 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. So we'll fold that in half. And then I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue because, as has been, you've probably seen it in a live that I have done, sometimes I get a little overzealous with my seal and I tend to tear my embossed cardstock. So I like to use liquid glue when I'm working with embossed layers just to make sure that I don't tear my cardstock. Now here's another tip. When you're adhering a layer, if you have inky fingers, I've got a little bit of blue ink on my fingers. If you're worried about smearing the front of your card, all you do is flip it over and you burnish it from the back so that you don't make a mess on the front of your card. Okay, that's another little tip that I picked up from many a messed up project. All right, so I have here some clouds that have been stamped in smoky slate ink on white cardstock and then die cut. So we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of these, and we're going to pop them on. So we'll put one cloud kind of coming across here, and then we're going to layer our plane. So I'm going to add a little bit of seal to the back of my stamped plane, and we're going to layer that on our copper one, but I'm going to offset it just a little bit. So I get a little bit of a, it's almost like an eclipse look or a little bit of a silhouette in behind it. Do you see how that just kind of gives a little, it's hard to see on the camera, but it gives just a little bit of shadow behind the plane. So that is going to get adhered to our card again using some dimensionals. Now I have to be careful because this is going to overlap my popped clouds. We're going to put just a little bit of seal there where it's going to sit on the cloud. And we'll get rid of our backing. So that's going to come up like that. We'll add our other two little clouds. Again, more dimensionals. So we'll tuck this one in behind. And then this little guy is just going to kind of be hanging out up here. Just like that. All right, now for our sentiments, I have a circle that I've cut using the Radiating Stitches dies. That's an online exclusive die set. And I'm going to stamp my Happiest Father's Day in, what did I use? Smoky Slate, I think. Yes, I did. So let's pull that ink in. And again, now this one's a little bit low, so I'm actually going to put this higher than I think I should. And look, it's centered. Sometimes you have to get a little creative when your stamps aren't necessarily quite centered on your blocks. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of seal to the back, and then this is just another copper metallic circle that it's actually a 1.5 inch circle. and it layers just ever so perfectly behind this radiating circles or radiating stitches circle. And it just shows a little hint of the copper. And when you angle the label, you may not be able to see it on the camera, but you get just a little hint of the copper showing through, almost like rays that are coming out from the sentiment. So that is going to get adhered to the front of our card. I'm going to add a dimensional there and a dimensional down here and a little bit of seal. And we're just going to pop that right on there, hopefully straight. There we go. How's that? You like that one? Now, again, I'll show you what I did here. So on this one, I added this "You Always Lift Me Up" sentiment. And there's my plane flying off in another direction with a couple of clouds in the background. So just a really simple, just a simple look. Heather. Oh, I don't know. I just play around, Heather. I just really like playing with stamps and ink and paper. I spend a lot of time doing it, and I don't know. You play with them long enough, the ideas just flow. But thank you for your kind comments. I appreciate it. I'm just gonna wipe my nose so I'm not sniffling. And our last card is a fun fold. I haven't done a fun fold in a live for a while. I posted this earlier today. This fold is called a spanner fold. So it opens like this, and then it opens like this. So it's kind of a double opening card. And it's a great way to showcase the DSP and to use lots of sentiment. So I have my flying by to say hi, then I have "You're the best, plain and simple, and you always lift me up." So let me show you how to do this. They really are not difficult, this particular fun fold. So let me start with my card base. So this started out just as a regular 5.5 by 8.5 card base in Smoky Slate. It's scored at 4 1/4. Okay, so regular card base. Then what I did, and I'll just pull up my trimmer so I can show you. I just took my base and I slid it in using my right hand, the ruler that's to the right of the cutting track, and I put it in at 1 1/4 inches, and I cut from the top down to the score line. Okay, then I moved my trimmer up, flipped it around, did the same thing at the bottom, so 1 1/4, cut from the bottom up to the score line. Okay, so I end up with these 3 flaps in my card front. Okay, super easy, nothing super fancy. And then we're just going to fold this in half like we would a regular card. Now, when you have these flaps, it can be a little bit tricky to get them all to line up. So what I tend to do is fold them one at a time as I go. And I find that a little bit easier to get them all nice and straight and aligned. So we'll just go ahead and crisp that up. Okay, so there is our card base. Now we're going to do some layering with some DSP here. So let me pull all my little DSP bits in here. Actually, before we do, we need to create our spanner. So there are a couple of ways to do this. On my sample, I actually glued this on top, but on this one, I'm actually going to glue it on the inside. So what I'm going to do is flip my card base. I'm going to fold this center panel up, so I just have these 2 side panels hanging at the bottom. And I have here a 1 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch piece that is going to form my spanner. All right. Now, if I look at this, I think I did it 3/4 of an inch up. Did I? Nope, 1 inch up. So I'm going to use, again, my grid lines. I love my grid paper. It is my best friend when I am stamping and lining pieces up, and I use it all the time. So I'm going to line up my spanner here so that it's going to run straight across between, it's going to span these 2 small flaps. All right. So I'm going to just add a little bit of glue on either end. Let me pull this in so you can see it. A little bit of glue on either end of my spanner piece here. And going 1, 2, 3, 4 squares up from the bottom. That's an inch. And straight across. Hopefully nice and straight and nicely aligned. Okay, so that is going to give me my spanner piece for the inside that's going to run across. Now that I've got that done, I can add my layers. Okay, so to start, we have 2 1 by 4 inch pieces of that fun rivet pattern that are going to go on either of those narrow side panels. So we'll go ahead and add those. So there's 1. And 1 more. Okay, then across the spanner, I'm going to put another piece. This is 3 by 1 inch. It's going to run right across, sort of between my flaps. And I'm going to have exactly, like it's going to fit exactly in between those flaps. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue there. And I'm actually going to open this up. It's easier to see and get it centered when it's not a gray against gray. Me and my old eyes. There we go. Okay. Now on the center panel, we're going to add some of this cloud pattern. And I think this is 2 3/4. Yes, it is 2 3/4 by 4 inches. So it is going to go in the middle there. And what I'm going to do is put a bit of glue on it. I'm going to sort of set this on here, and then I'm going to quickly close these flaps because I do want to make sure that my edges line up, because I want this to be even across the bottom and even across the top. So that way I can just kind of wiggle it into position. So that gives me my foundation. Okay. Now let's do a little bit of decorating. So let's look at these fun build-a-plane dies, as I like to call them. So this wing piece can be a little bit finicky to apply liquid glue to. So what I've done is put some adhesive sheets on. Now, don't make the same mistake I did when I made my sample. When I made the sample, I wasn't thinking about the fact that the top wing was going to be not going to be adhered to anything. And so I had adhesive sheets all over it. So you know what I had to do to get rid of that adhesive? I took my embossing buddy and just powdered the top of the wing there so that it wasn't sticky anymore, so it wouldn't stick to the front of my card. So this time I actually thought about that fact, and I only cut, I didn't put adhesive sheets over the whole piece. I just put it over the part that was going to be adhered to my plane. Okay. All right. So let's peel off our backing. And we might have to poke out a couple of bits. Have them stick to our fingers. Lots of fun. There we go. And then we need this little guy to come out too. So now it's really just a matter of matching this up. So you can see with these really narrow little sort of pieces here, it's really tricky to apply liquid glue. So I wouldn't even try. I would just avoid it altogether. If you have to use liquid glue, only use it on the wings and the nose piece. Much, much easier. Okay, so there's our plane. That's how easy it was to build a plane. Wasn't that quick and easy? All right, now we're going to add our propellers. So I've cut my propellers from some of the silver textured metallic specialty paper. And I'm going to put the teeniest, tiniest little drop of liquid glue at the front of my plane here, if it wants to come out. There we go. And we're going to add one propeller. And then I'm going to add another teeny tiny drop on top of that. And we're going to add our second propeller. Let's do it this way. That'll line up better. Okay, now I'm going to let that sit for a second because with the metallic, it takes a couple seconds to set up. So in the meantime, we're going to stamp our sentiment. So this is another one I've been worried about stamp. Oh, nope. See, I chickened out. I actually stamped it ahead of time because this is another stamp that is not super mounted in the middle. And this is a very small area to stamp on. So I chickened out and I pre-stamped it. So we're going to go ahead and adhere that just to this rightmost flap. So I'm just going to put a little bit of seal on here. And we're going to stick that on. So I'm lining up these little points. Now I should mention this label is also from the Unbounded Love dies. Okay. All right. That should be good. Now we're going to adhere our plane. We're going to use a couple of dimensionals. And I'm only going to put dimensionals on the body of the plane. I'm not putting any on the wing because it is not going to be adhered to anything. It's just going to kind of be floating. So let's adhere our plane. There it is. Take it off. Okay, so that is our top layer done. I'll add my embellishments in a minute. So let's talk about this next layer. I'm going to open this. I'm going to keep this flap closed, and we're going to add 2 more 1 by 4 inch strips on either side. So if you keep this flap closed, it's much easier to get these centered where you need them. Okay, if you open it right up, it's a little bit trickier. So let's add a little bit of glue here and pop these on. It is important to have your planes right side up. Just saying. Ask me how I know. I may have made a card with upside down planes. Just maybe. That will not be one that I post on social media. All right, let's get these glued on. Okay, now I also fussy cut just a part of a plane from the same DSP that we're actually going to have sort of flying across the sky after we stamp our sentiment. So I have here just a 3/4 by, I don't know, 4 maybe inch strip, just a piece of scrap. And I'm gonna stamp You're the Best, plain and simple, in Smoky Slate ink. So let's ink that up. And once again, this is not perfectly centered, so I always like to do a test just to make sure. And then we're going to trim the ends of this into a little banner. I'm not going to cheat this time. I am going to use my snips. So I'm going to trim it to the approximate length that I want. And then I'm going to trim in a little notch in the middle and then go from each corner into that notch. And that'll give you a nice even banner end. And then we do the same thing on the other end. So trim, notch, and snip. There we go. Okay, gives you a nice even banner. All right, let's get that out of the way. Now this is going to adhere, and I want to make sure when I'm adhering this, I want this to be hidden by my spanner when you look at the front of the card. So there was a reason that I took note of the height that I put this at. Remember, this was at 1 inch. So when I go to glue this, I want to watch to make sure that I'm putting this on a little bit above 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's the bottom of my spanner is going to run there. And then my spanner is 1 1/4 inches. Okay, so that gives me an idea of approximately where I can adhere my banner and have it be hidden by the spanner when I close it. Okay, so this you can't pop up. It has to be glued flat. But I am actually going to adhere my plane. Now I have to be a little bit creative because maybe we'll do it this way. Let's do it the other way because my plane is kind of flying off this way. It was just a partial from the edge of the DSP. Let's do it this way. We're going to switch it because we can. It's my project. I can change it if I want to. All right, so here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, I need my banner to go somewhere around there-ish. And then we're going to add a little liquid glue to the back of this guy and just sort of tuck it in. So it's just kind of flying out from behind the banner. And if we close this, oh, we're still going to see a bit of that plane, but that's okay. I don't mind that. Okay. All right. So that is our second layer. When I open this up, this is where I have a spot to write my greeting. So this piece is, what is it? 3 by 4 inches. And it is going to get glued on. I'm going to stamp on it in a second. But when I glue this, I want to make sure that my edges line up with the edges of this flap because I want that flap to cover it. Oh, and I might need to do a little trim. I think I may cut this a little bit more than 3. Yeah, it's a smidge wider than 3. So we're going to trim off just a smidge. Just to make sure that that does not appear behind our flap. There we go. Okay, so we're going to stamp You Always Lift Me Up on this little piece. Hi, Alfie. Welcome. I'm glad you could join me live today. I'm almost done, but I'm glad you caught me. So there is my You Always Lift Me Up. And we're going to add a little liquid glue. Again, I'm using liquid glue, so I have that wiggle time just to make sure I can get this centered, so I'm not going to see it. If you're really worried about it, you could certainly cut this a little bit narrower if you wanted to. But I think this will work. Let's just make sure. Oh, look at that. Perfection. There we go. There is our finished card. Now we're going to add, oh, I didn't put my bling in here, but that's okay. So I use some of the in color what are these, sparkle gems or sparkle opals or something like that they're called. So they are in the new catalog. They're in the in colors, so they coordinate with the boho blue. Okay, so there are our 3 projects from today, but don't go away. I got lots more to share with you. So let me show you what else I did. So every week I have committed to using one of the fabulous card sketches from the annual catalog to inspire a project. So this week is no different. So they card sketches are on page 22 of the annual, and the sketch I'm using is this one, where my thumb is. Okay, so that is the sketch, and here is the project. So completely different. Well, not completely. I just changed up the color palette and brought in a pop of red. So here is my take on it. So there are my 3 sort of elements in the background, and then just added my plane stamped on the circle. So there is my take on a sketch. Let me move these. I'll bring in a few more. This is one that I put together during my, oh, look, I've got a gem stuck to my card. That I put together during my live launch party. A super simple, quick, easy take on this suite. Here's one I did where I actually colored using watercolor pencils. Again, has a little bit of a vintage kind of look, but another Father's Day project. And here's a swap card that I absolutely love. I love that they cut the body of the plane from that sort of patchwork rivets pattern. I love the creativity of that. I think that's really, really cool. And then here is another swap card I received. These are from the incentive strip, and I love this one as well. This is a bridge fold card, and they've got the plane sort of free floating. Can you see that? It's just kind of hanging out there. I probably wouldn't have been that brave. I probably would have adhered it to the label a little bit so that it had was a little bit more secure, but that's pretty brave. So that is a bridge fold card. And then on the back, we have a spot to write our sentiments. And then here is another swap card I received. So this is also a spanner card, but again, very brave. They actually use the plane as the spanner. So they didn't have a separate spanner piece. They actually used the plane as the spanner. And believe it or not, honestly, I designed this particular card way before I received this swap card. It was just kind of one of those great minds thinking alike. I just wasn't as brave, and I thought about it, but I just thought, oh, I'm not sure it'll be stable enough. So I added that extra spanner piece. So there are some card ideas. And then, of course, I have also committed to doing a scrapbook layout each week. So here is my layout. This is just a 1-pager that is some pictures from our trip last year to Norway, so our Norwegian cruise. So I use a couple, that old world map, you know, the one that I said was my favorite pattern, and then the topographical map. So I use torn edges to add a little bit of texture and to kind of mimic the white water that was in the river. Here are those tags from those pre-designed sheets where you can cut card fronts and tags. So I used 3 of the tags and actually stamped directly onto one of the tags. And then I did a patchwork of the patchwork. So I cut several of the largest label from the Nested Labels or Nested Essentials dies from that rivet DSP and then piece them together. I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah, you can see. Can you see how I kind of patched them together? So I did a little bit of a patchwork of the patchwork. I thought that was kind of a fun take on it. And then use the for my journaling. So there you go. There is a little inspiration and an idea that has nothing to do with aviation for using the images and DSP in this suite for scrapbooking. All right, everybody. I'm going to take it off my messy desk and say thanks so much for hanging with me. I apologize for the coughing and sniffling that was going on today. I'm just glad I was able to get through it without a total coughing fit. So thank you for joining me this week. I appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with me. I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.